Hi everyone, Elsie Jensen here. Today we are going to make some peach cobbler muffins, and then I've been seeing this kind of viral everywhere chicken salad wrap or chicken Caesar salad wrap, and I love chicken Caesar salad and I like wraps, so I figured, you know what, let's make it. I've seen like 20 different little videos on it. I'm like, you know what, we're gonna do that for lunch now that the kids are back to school. But let's start off by making our peach cobbler muffins because peach season is almost over. And I want to get them as much peach and nectarine things in. Typically not a huge peach fan because I don't like that fuzz, but we're going to peel them off and they'll make this delicious. So let's start by getting kind of our peaches cut up into little cubes that are going to go into our little muffin mix. And I'm going to take the skin off, although you can keep the skin on if it doesn't bother you, but I feel like it's worth the extra minute or two it takes to peel it off for just an even better kind of finish to the muffin. And we're going to just we'll have do like a cinnamon vanilla flavored muffin base. We're going to coat our peaches in some cinnamon as well. And then we're going to make a kind of a rich, darker streusel topping to go on it. So kind of like a cobbler, but in a muffin. There we go. So I've got my first one. I always like it when they peel up nicely. These are really big peaches too. And we're going to have to deep hit some of these. There we go. I know, I was like sitting here and I'm like, you know, summer, I feel like for me, once my kids start back at school, even though it can be still summer outside, summer is over. And so I'm like, you know what? We need to start getting into the fall. I can't remember which store I was at, but we saw Halloween decorations out already. And I'm a little crazy about my holidays, but I'm not this crazy. But Evie was like, we need to decorate for Halloween now. And it was still July when we saw them. And I was like, you know, decorating for Halloween in July is a tad bit early. I am all for it as soon as September 1st comes around. But July, I will put my foot down on that. But she's like, they're selling the decorations now. I was like, we'll get it soon enough. Fall is probably my favorite time of year. So of course, I look forward to the weather, the good food, and just the atmosphere. Grab a little bowl here, and we're gonna just chop these guys up nice and small in here because you don't want to have super huge chunks in our muffin, and then we'll work on our wet base for it. And then we'll add in our dry, but we are going to use our sourdough discard in here. That also just helps make the muffins so moist and also gut healthy. I know I was thinking about what to make. I've got to getting back into our like school modes, making snacks for them. This year, my daughter has a kiddo in her class that has a severe nut allergy. So I was like, okay, nothing with nuts in it. Which takes out a lot of what she loves. But I was like, we could do muffins. Right now, the kids have been enjoying the oatmeal cookies in their lunches. But I was like, I got to get back into making my granola bars and other little quick snacks that I put in their lunch and their snacks at school. Because growing up, we never had snack time at school, but Evie told me that she has 3 snack times now because she has one in the morning and then they have lunch and then they have one in the afternoon. And because her bus comes late, they can have another snack. And I was like, oh, that might be a little crazy. It's a lot of snacks in a day. She goes, but I need to have a snack at each one. I'm always hungry.
She loves lemon.
My husband is really pushing for some lemon tarts. I said, not until December. Your birthday's in December. Not until then. 4 more months to wait. I made them for Father. I made them recently. Like 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Okay, we're probably not going to actually end up using all of these peaches because I will say these 2 peaches were huge and we only need about 1.5 cups. And this is looking closer to 2.5 cups. But I'm going to mince them all up because they'll be just delicious to eat anyways. Okay. we've got our peaches in here. I'm going to slide this out of the way and give my hands a quick rinse because they have been peachified. And then let's grab a spoon and our sugar here. And we're going to toss our peaches with a little bit of cinnamon and sugar to help just kind of bring out some extra flavor in it. We don't need a whole lot of sugar. This is about 1/8 of a cup. So just a little bit to start to get them to sweat out some of their juices so they don't sweat it out all in the muffin. And then we're going to add in about 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon now. We will add some more in the batter and then in our crumb topping. But we're going to, coat them with about 1/2 teaspoon. So just a couple good shakes over it. Let's mix this up. And just have them start to sweat out some of their extra juices. And that sugar kind of helps the peaches sweat a little bit faster. Same with strawberries. Here we go. But this is just going to give them I feel like cinnamon and peaches just go really well together. Even though like peaches are a much more vibrant fruit than like a pear or an apple, it just works with it. Here we go. So we're going to let those sit. And that's going to be kind of our peach chunks in our filling here. But let's start with our wet base. We are going to use 1/2 cup of sourdough discard. I'm going to feed it up after we're done with our making our muffins today. That way, I've got to get back into my routine of making my bread loaf, especially in the fall, because I love soups and like grilled cheeses for lunch. And when I'm making my loaves regularly, I always have sourdough ready for grilled cheese. So we need 1/2 cup of our sourdough discard. So let's add that in here.
Oh, Laura says she made your peach fritters.
Ooh,
turned out great.
Good. I'm glad. I just think they're so good. I will say peaches, I feel like you can just put them in so many different things. And you can kind of mimic sometimes with apples and whatnot with them, and they kind of really work well. But again, let's get on to our peach cobbler muffins, and then we will work on that kind of viral chicken Caesar salad wrap. I'm really interested to make it because I've just never made a wrap like that before. And so I'm just excited. Okay, we have a stick of butter melted, so 1/2 cup of butter melted. And we're going to add in 3/4 cup of sour cream. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball it here. I just have a little bit of left in here, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be about 3/4 of a cup or so. But this recipe is pretty forgiving if you go a little under or over with the sour cream. So, and as everyone knows, my measurements are they're the LC version of the measurement. There, but let's start mixing our sour cream, our butter, and our starter together. And then we're going to add in 1/4 cup of cream and a tablespoon of vanilla extract, and we'll crack in our 2 eggs. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to get 1/4 cup of cream. Let me just grab a little measuring cup for this so I can see a little better. My butter one, whenever I melt butter in it, I can never see the lines for measuring. So we're going to use heavy whipping cream for this, and we need just 1/4 cup. Here we go. And since we're doing a crumb topping on our muffins, we won't use any to brush the tops of them. So 1/4 cup or 1/4 cup of cream and 2 eggs. Here we go. And then I'm going to kind of poke those yolks. So when I mix it in, they will mix in a lot easier. And then we're going to add in a whole tablespoon of vanilla. So this is going to give it a nice kind of vanilla cakey flavor base for our muffin. We're also going to add in some cinnamon in just a second as well. And those kind of will pair really well together. Okay, let's mix these in, and then we'll get on to our dry ingredients, and then we'll make our crumb and everything. I bought this new vanilla, and I had never tried this brand before, but it smells really nice. It's a Rodell Madagascar vinegar, or vanilla, not vinegar, but it has like it's a very fragrant one. It's, a lot of times you get the extract and they smell a lot like alcohol. This one smells really lovely. Okay. So we're mixing our wet in, and now we're going to do our salt, our cinnamon, and our baking powder. And then we'll add in our sugar and our flour. So we need a teaspoon of cinnamon, and I want a nice heaping teaspoon here because, again, I want that cinnamon to pop through. And then we're going to do 2 teaspoons of baking powder. So 1, 2, and then a half teaspoon of salt. We're going to do a cup of granulated sugar, and this will kind of sweeten it up for our little base for our muffins. Okay. Let's say it's humid in my house because my sugar is clumping together, but that's okay. Luckily, it will mix in well. So we'll mix these all the way up, and then we'll add in our flour, and then fold in our peaches. But I always like to mix all the ingredients together before I add in that flour so that when I add it in, I don't over mix it, because you want your batter to be chunky. That way it's nice and fluffy. So you really don't want to over mix it. Here we go. And I do have my oven preheated to 400 degrees for this recipe. Again, I'm just breaking up any of those big chunks of sugar. There we go. Okay. So we've got that. You can see that nice cinnamon in there. And now we're going to add in 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and we are going to just mix it until it is just barely incorporated, because, this is a butter-based muffin, and if you over mix it, you're going to get a stiff muffin instead of a nice fluffy muffin. So 2 cups of all-purpose flour. We're going to mix this in until, again, just barely mix. And that's why I always like to do it by hand and not use a hand mixer with this, because I find it is really, really easy to over mix your batter with this, just because they spin really fast and it incorporates pretty quickly. Here we go. So, like I said, it's going to be a nice, thick, chunky batter. But now we're going to add in let's give this a good stir around. We'll add in our peaches that we've seasoned up with cinnamon and a little bit of sugar. Again, this is a bit more. You want about 1.5 cups. So I'm not going to use quite all of this. We'll save a little bit. I'm sure Torn, he loves peaches, so he'll come home and I'm sure eat the rest of it. Okay, and we're going to fold these in. And if you're unfamiliar with folding, it's simply taking the batter, scooping up underneath it, and kind of folding it over the top. And this just allows you to mix in your ingredients without over mixing your batter. Here we go. And we'll just do this a couple of times until all of those kind of peaches are mixed up in here. Here we go. I think they were looking pretty good here. There we go. So we've got our batter here. We'll let it sit for just a second. And then we're going to make our crumb topping to go on it. So we're going to do a rich streusel, which we're going to use brown sugar, flour, and butter for this, and a little bit of cinnamon, because again, I want that cinnamon to kind of really pop in this recipe. So I've got a half a stick, a half a stick, so a fourth cup of melted butter here. And I am using salted butter. So if you weren't using salted butter, I would add in maybe a fourth teaspoon of salt so that it's not just overly sweet. We're going to add in a little bit less than a half a cup of brown sugar. So I'm just not going to pack it. It's going to be more than a fourth, like a third on there or something like that.
You have a question? Does the sourdough discard take place of baking powder or soda?
No, we have baking powder in here. So the sourdough discard is not going to be used for any of the leavening or the rising action. The baking powder will be doing that, but it gives you it allows you to discard your sourdough from your starter so that you aren't just throwing it away. And it gives you a little bit of a tart flavor, but not too strong, but just like the good health benefits of sourdough. Okay, we're going to mix. We've got our sugar mixed in here, our brown sugar in there. Again, a little bit more than a third cup, probably like a third cup plus a tablespoon or so. And we're going to add in some cinnamon here, probably about, I don't know, half a teaspoon or so, not a whole crazy amount, but that's going to give, again, a much darker color to our streusel. And then we're going to add in our flour. We're going to start with about a half a cup, and then we might need to add in a bit more because I want kind of a thick crumb on it, but not so thick that it doesn't crumble up nicely, but I don't want it super powdery. Let's see. And we'll just kind of mix this. Kind of mix it around. Right now I've got a pretty thick crumb, so I want to add just a little bit more because I do want it to not be so thick. About a tablespoon or so more. Okay, that should be nice. I'm just going to get in there with my fingers and kind of give it a nice little toss. So here we go. So a crumb where if you push it together, it will hold, but you can easily crumble it into little smaller pieces. And this is what we're going to put on top of our muffin to create our kind of cobbler effect to it. Okay. Let's put our liners in. And again, I do have the oven preheated to 400 degrees for this. And it's going to cook for about 20 minutes. It takes a little bit longer than a traditional muffin that doesn't have a streusel topping on it because the streusel kind of weighs it down and is a little bit of an insulator. So you just need to work a little bit longer on it. Just use this. We're going to fill up our muffin tins nice and full. I'm going to come back over and even them out when we come back. But I fill mine up to the top. That gives you a big domey muffin, like the bakery style one where it's popping over. I know a lot of times if you buy box mixes, it tells you to fill them up like 3/4 of the way. Fill them up all the way.
You have a question? Do the peaches not sink to the bottom?
No, this is a very thick batter. So it is made with butter, which when you mix it with the cold ingredients, it thickens up. So we had melted butter, which then allows the batter is not so viscous that the peaches melt down. You can kind of see in here, they sit where they are. And so they don't melt down to the bottom of it. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I love using butter in baked goods. Not only does it give it a better flavor and texture, but it allows, where it's not going to sit down and sink to the bottom, not like with an oil-based, mix. Here we go. And now we're going to come back over with the remaining bits of it. Now, I always make a dozen big stuffed muffins. Like I said, I like the big dome on it because really the muffin top is the best part of a muffin. But you can always do a little less and probably stretch it to 18 if you wanted to, if you filled them a little bit less. Making sure I get all of these good peach pieces in here. So, and you don't have to worry. Again, this is a butter base, so this batter is thick and it is not going to run over the edges at all of your muffin tin. It is going to just puff up and bake like a little dome. Versus if you do have a oil base, it's a runnier batter, so you wouldn't be able to fill it up thick like this. We're down to my last little kind of scrape here. Looking good. Got one little, perfect. Okay, now wash a little bit of that batter off. We're gonna put our crumb topping on it. And this is what makes these just so much better. It gives it a nice kind of that cobbler feeling to it, that crisp feeling, that just that crumb topping. And we're doing a dark streusel. So with blueberry muffins or strawberry muffins, I do what I call a blonde streusel, where I use just granulated sugar instead of brown sugar for the crumb topping. This is it's going to have a richer flavor to it because of that brown sugar. And I just think it pairs really well with the cinnamon. Here we go. So again, just kind of patting my little crumbs down into it. I always feel like this is like the best part of the muffin. Anytime you get a streusel muffin, you're always like eating those little crumbs off the top. Here we go. And then whatever I have left over, I'll go back over and kind of sprinkle the last little bits on, because we're not going to let any of it go to waste. Okay. Perfect. We're going to go pop these in the oven. And again, this is going to bake at 400 on the top oven rack for 20 minutes because of that streusel. It kind of weighs it down. Slide those in. And I'm going to set my timer for 20 minutes. And now we can go make our lunch. Our nice. Go ahead.
Do you have a question? The sourdough bread you prepared, did you make that yet?
We are going to bake it up at dinner tonight. So I know everyone's excited for it because they love, it's a cinnamon apple one, and I made sure I made those apple pieces so small and it's mixed out, but very excited for it.
And then you have a question. Can you go over what that crumb topping was one more time?
Yes. So it's a streusel topping. We made a half a stick of butter, so a 1/4 cup of butter melted with a 1/3 cup plus a tablespoon of brown sugar. Mix that together, added about a half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and then we mixed in a little over a half a cup of flour, probably 2/3 cup of flour to make the nice crumb. And that's pretty much it. Okay. We are going to season up our ground chicken for this Caesar salad lettuce wrap. So I've been seeing this kind of viral video around where you just take the chicken and you put it on the tortilla and you cook it upside down. I'm going to season it up a little bit because I think it would be pretty bland if we don't season it up. But I'm interested to see how it works out. So I've got a pound of ground chicken here, and we're going to put in about, I want to say, a teaspoon and a half-ish maybe of garlic salt. And we're going to use some onion powder. I'm kind of keeping it very simple because a Caesar salad is pretty simple. We're going to put about a teaspoon of onion powder in here. And then some black pepper. Probably, I would say, a half a teaspoon, because it's kind of, I will always say, I don't use a lot of ground chicken or turkey when I'm cooking because I think it's more of a drier, bland meat to cook with. But if I'm going to use one over the other, ground chicken, I think, is much better than ground turkey. It's more juicy. So we've got our base here. I'm just getting everything prepped up so when I'm ready to mix this with my hands, and I can mix and smear these on it. Okay, we've got we need big tortillas for this. I got the burrito style. so that they're a little bit more malleable. And I'm going to just rub a little bit of butter on the side that we won't be putting the meat on, so that when we kind of flip it over for a second to just warm it up, it will have just a nice little butter melt on it. Keeps it a little bit more malleable. Okay. Now we're going to mix these together. And I'm just going to mix it up. And mix is actually really easy. It's also one of the reasons why I don't work with like ground chicken too much, is it's a lot more sticky than a ground pork or a lamb or a beef. And this is kind of the fun part. It's like arts and crafts. We're just going to kind of spread the chicken out on your tortilla like this. And don't make it super thick, because remember, we've got to cook it all the way through. So we're just going to spread kind of and I'm not doing it all the way to the edges, because again, I want to be able to wrap this up. I'm going to do up our other one and spread it out. This is also why I feel like if you were just to put plain chicken on here, it would be pretty bland. So you got to season it up well. I know we're going to be adding Caesar salad dressing to us, but you need a bit more than just that. Got a little bit more on here. So these two big wraps, they'll each have about 8 ounces on it, which is kind of about a chicken breast or so. I'm gonna wash my hands up now. Okay. Now you could definitely mix it in a bowl and spread it on with a knife. I will say it's pretty easy to spread. Oop, I almost tripped over my own feet. Forgot my oil here. But mixing the seasonings in with my hands, it's just easier to spread it. We're going to put a little bit of olive oil in here, and I'm going to be using, this is just my Hexclad 12-inch one. You need a big frying pan for this, because you're going to have to do the whole burrito. And I'm going to start it. I'm going to heat up my pan, but I'll probably cook it over like a medium-high heat. I don't want to scorch the chicken going on there. So once it gets warm, we'll kind of start cooking them off. But while we're waiting, we're going to mix up our salad kit. And I thought about making my own Caesar salad for this, but if anyone knows anything about Caesar salad, it's not exactly the easiest salad dressing to make. I'm not saying that it's difficult, but you have to use like anchovies in it. And so most people, they love Caesar salad, but they're not actually eating a traditional Caesar salad with the anchovies. So we are doing ours just using a simple Caesar salad pack, which I think will be perfect, because one bag will actually kind of fit perfectly in this. But I think if I were making this for like a dinner for my whole family, I might actually venture out and do my own Caesar salad dressing. Okay, you're going to want to chop up your lettuce leaves. I know it already comes pre-chopped. Chop them up so that when you're eating it, otherwise you'll pull out and you'll have like a huge piece of lettuce this big. So I'm going to pre-chop it. My favorite way to just chop up lettuce is I take my kitchen shears. I'm just going to go into the bowl and chop it up. I feel like this would be an easy thing you could prep in the morning and take with you to work, like, prep it, wrap it up in aluminum foil, and I think it would actually keep fairly well. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, our pan feels nice and hot. Let's take our first one. And remember, I kind of put a little bit of butter on that side. And I'm just going to kind of pat it down. Let me grab where's my big flat spatula here? So I can kind of press it down. Think about like smashed burgers. And then we're going to let that kind of cook up on there for it. Now, I envision that you could do this with just about any salad bag. I just feel like right now the viral one is the Caesar salad. This is the really difficult part, guys. We got to add in our cheese, and I'm actually going to add in a bit of extra Parmesan cheese, so it has just a bit more flavor. So we got Parmesan cheese, croutons. This is going to give you a crunch in it, but before you put them in there, break them up, because otherwise you're going to have a huge crouton in your wrap, and that might be difficult to do. So just smash them up in your bag first. I feel like it will just be easier to eat that way. Okay. We've got ours crunched up. And again, we're going to add in a bit more. I feel like this one is a pretty easy, simple meal today, but I was actually kind of excited to try it. You know, a lot of times I feel like, what was it last year? Do you guys remember the viral tomato and feta pasta where you put the block of feta in and I made that last year too. Everyone really liked it. They thought it was pretty good. But I feel like that one has now died off, and this is like the new biggest quick and easy trend. So I'm putting my dressing in there. I'll get some tongs to toss it off. And then it's like assembly line after that. And then we'll cut up. I have a big watermelon that I'm going to cut up. Now I feel like you could buy the salad pack, or you could buy or Caesar salad dressing and easily make this 100% without a salad pack on the side. I'll say the chicken is smelling nice. There we go. So we're going to have it kind of toast up on the other side. And it's looking good, looking good.
You have a question? Do you know what's for dinner tonight?
I am thinking that for dinner tonight, we will have fish. I have bought some. My husband is instantly, his smile dropped instantly. He does not like salmon, and that is what we are having tonight. Now it's solidified. We are having salmon. So I love salmon, but I know we're gonna have salmon. We're gonna bake up our sourdough loaf, our apple cinnamon loaf, so that should make them nice and happy. No complaints there. Let's see. I'm gonna pop that over. I want to make sure it gets cooked all the way through, but we toasted it here. We've got this nice kind of golden thing, but I didn't toast it so long that it gets super crunchy. I want to be able to still bend it and move it on here. And then we're going to pull this off and do that. Let's see. I'm going to fold it up on a plate. I think it will be easier to fold it up on the plate versus here. Okay. Beautiful. So you got that chicken right there. And remember, we seasoned this up with onion powder, garlic, salt, and black pepper, so it's a bit more flavor. I'm going to put a smidge more olive oil in here because I think it's nice and hot. There we go. Move it around. Probably didn't need quite as much. And we'll put our next one in to cook up. I'm going to push this down. Flatten it out. Think about smash burgers. And we'll let that cook out. So with this, you're simply going to take your chopped up Caesar salad packet that you have in here. And you're going to put it on there. And now I'm going to try to be like those professionals. My brother worked at like a burrito place in college. And so now every Thanksgiving, like we a lot of times take turns eating or making dinner for the whole family. And he is always the one who has to do burritos, and he has to roll up everybody's burritos. So he rolls up like 30 people's burritos. Look at that. I feel like I did it like a pro here. And let me grab a knife, because to make it truly viral here, you've got to cut it in the middle. And then you're just like, look at my amazing chicken Caesar salad wrap.
You might want to clarify. You said burritos for Thanksgiving. You might want to clarify it's a week of cooking.
Oh yes, it's a week of cooking, not for Thanksgiving. That would be a little different. But you know, I bet you there's somebody out there who does make burritos on Thanksgiving. We have all of my family members come in together for Thanksgiving, and so all of my full siblings come. And so I'm actually the youngest of 10, but I have 6 full siblings that are older than me, and I have 3 halves. So there are 7 of us kids, and we all have kids. So I have 5, another one of my sister has 5s, and then the rest are in like 3s. So we are a big family, about 40 people. And what we've always done is each family kind of takes a night to cook the big meal for everybody, because, you know, going out to eat logistically is crazy with that many people and young children. So we each take our turns doing it. And my brother, he always does burritos and guacamole. And he like makes the little spread, and then he has to wrap everybody's burrito for him because he just does it so much nicer than we do it. But again, I will say this is super simple, like really, really easy. Like, and you can see you're going to get a chicken in every bite because it's wrapped around the outside. And then you have all that flavor and that Caesar salad wrap. So I'm like, simple, easy, not hard. There we go. I will just say, make sure when you're toasting it, you want to toast it on the other side, but for like 30 seconds, because you don't want it to crunch, because then your tortilla will break for it on there. But since we're almost done with this salad wrap, and I'm actually going to pop this on there and let it sit because it was really hot to wrap. Although I have what they all say, I've got cooking calluses that can withstand liquid hot magma. Okay, so we're going to let that sit and cool before I wrap it up, the next one, so I don't burn my fingers. But again, how easy would that be to make in the morning right before like going to work, and then you just pop it in aluminum foil and you could have that in no time. Where's my big knife? Now I've got a big watermelon. Oh, before I show you how to pick out the best watermelon, you want to get one that has a yellow spot, not white. White is going to be not sweet, unwatery. And then you want to look at its belly button here. You want a nice kind of tight belly button. You don't want it to be sticking out too much or sunken in too deep. And then you look for dark green and fairly even spacing between your little stripes. Means it grew evenly and not huge after a big rain. There we go. And then watermelon, I don't cut it up at one time. I will cover this one with plastic wrap, and it will stay fresh longer than cutting up the whole bit of it. And even though we are a large family, we don't eat a whole watermelon and things. We'll eat a whole, like, you know, cantaloupe, handy melon or whatnot, but not a whole watermelon in one sitting. So I always cut it up in stages. That way it stays fresh, because, you know, after about a day or two, your watermelon will start to get mushy and waterlogged. So always just cut up a little bit at a time. There we go. And unfortunately, unlike with my like cantaloupe, honeydew, there is no super great trick to cutting up watermelon that makes it like super easy, I will say. You know, with the cantaloupe, once you make your slits in it, you can easily just take that and fold it down and straight. This one, I just kind of like stand it up and cut out the middle. If we're eating it right away, I will just actually like make it and have the kids eat it off the slices. But I like to prep this up. That way also I can put this in my kids' lunches this week. Earlier this summer, it was a viral moment at the time, but it was the like Kool-Aid flavored watermelon. And that surprisingly was really good. I actually think a lemonade would be even better if you took like lemonade powder on it. I feel like that would be really delicious. We did like grape Kool-Aid and the tropical punch, and they were so good. But look, this is like a nice, good, firm. You've got a nice kind of bright color to it, which means you know it's going to be sweet. I can smell it already, and it's a very sweet watermelon. So just look for the yellow. If it's white, that means that it's like a waterlogged one. It's not very sweet. And then it grew after like a heavy rain. It grew a lot. It's kind of like if you grow tomatoes and all of a sudden after a big rain you come out and all your tomatoes are twice the size and split. It kind of happens that way.
I've seen this a couple times saying try cinnamon on watermelon.
Ooh, well, now you know what, guys? I've got some cinnamon right over here, and I have never heard that. I've heard salt on watermelon. We're going to just have to try this. I'm going to sprinkle it over here. Okay, got a little bit of cinnamon here. Actually, really good. You don't taste watermelon at all. You taste like a cinnamon, but like almost like a really juicy. It's actually pretty good. I will say, I would never have made that combination together, but it is actually pretty good. A little bit of cinnamon. I have, in my younger years, wasn't as smart and well-educated as I am now. So I was like 19 at the time. And my brother-in-law, I don't know if you've ever heard of the cinnamon challenge, but my brother-in-law, who was like, I'll give you $20 if you eat a tablespoon of cinnamon. And I was like, oh, sure, I can eat a tablespoon of cinnamon. That's not an issue. Do not try that at home. That, I thought I was going to die because it instantly like goes into your lungs. I remember doing it. And from then I'm like, I never like to eat cinnamon completely raw because of that. But I like went under the sink and was like, put the faucet in my mouth. So don't try that at home. Hopefully that doesn't become another viral or like trend that was thing. But that dates me because that was probably in the, 2007 or 8. Still remember it. Okay, let's get these cut up.
Wait, I thought you were like 12. How old were you?
I was in college. I was like,
Yikes.
I was 18 or 19. Yes, it still goes around. I never got my $20. I'm going to say I did it, but I never, it was awful. And yes, you definitely cannot do it. Okay, let's go get I'm going to cut this last right here, and then we'll go get our muffins out because they are ready. And then we'll wrap up our last wrap and we'll have lunch ready here. It's so nice. It's been so calm. My kid's been off to school. I'm just like, I'm normally used to them hounding me. When's lunch? When's lunch? When's lunch? Here are our beautiful peach cobbler muffins. Let's give them they've got a nice kind of firm top to them. So they're nice and good. Always check your muffins when you're pulling them out because if that top isn't firm, when they cool, they're going to sink down and they're going to be a little bit doughy. And sometimes a muffin just takes longer than you expect. Your oven may have not have been preheated all the way or whatnot. So always check it. Also, more liquid, like a more runny batter takes longer to bake up. But here are our peach cobbler muffins that we made using our sourdough discard. We have about 1.5 peaches in there that we tossed with cinnamon and sugar, so they'll have that nice spice to them. Then we made this rich kind of crumb topping using brown sugar, butter, and flour to have that darker streusel crumb on it. But when you bite in there, you're going to have that cinnamon vanilla kind of cake flavor to the muffin with the delicious peaches. Okay, let's get this guy wrapped up. Pull my next one out, and then we'll have lunch served. Okay. So it's cooled now, so it's going to be a lot easier to work with. It was kind of hot. So remember, we cooked up our chicken in our pan. We seasoned this up again with garlic salt, onion powder, and black pepper because it needs flavor.
You have a question. Do you post the recipes?
We will upload the video to our link on our page. For this, we upload all of our videos so everybody has access to it. We do recipe cards for our members, and then we send out a couple each week. But for everybody else, they have access to our videos, and they're just on the link on our page to our full video. So I've got my salad here. And this is my Caesar salad. We mixed up, remember, crush up your croutons so they're not super huge. And then we're just gonna pull it here. And kind of the trick is you kind of pull it on to one side. And as you get that first kind of roll, this is when you're gonna start kind of tucking in the edges. Now I'm gonna say this and it's not gonna turn out nearly as nice as the first one. Actually, it turned out better. And voila, we've got it. And now you could wrap it up in aluminum foil, but let's show you our beautiful Caesar salad wrap. We've got that nice chicken all the way around with our salad in the middle. And of course, we'll serve it with our delicious peach cobbler muffins with that nice crumb topping on it and some of our fresh watermelon we just cut up. So just kind of a light but yet delicious lunch on a nice kind of weekday where the kids aren't here. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to do live cooking shows every single day, kind of show you what we're making and hopefully teach you guys something along the way. Again, we do upload all of our recipes to the link on our page. So if you ever want to recreate any of our recipes at home, you can just go to that link, search for what we cooked for. So chicken salad wraps and our peach cobbler muffins. And you can just watch and cook along with us again. We also have a link to our Amazon storefront. So if you were interested in any of the cooking gear, like our hex-clad pans, our knives, our cutting boards, all the different gadgets I use in my kitchen, I have in my storefront for you guys to check out. But again, thank you so much for joining us here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe.